Gratitude with perspective from my future. Okay. So basically, like, a thing about me is people that know me know I'm a control freak. And this is because I love knowing things in my life are going to be certain. Whether it's grades, education, people being with me in my future, things like that. And once I feel like I've achieved the certainty status in life, like, I kind of become complacent. And I've noticed it because throughout my education, when I was studying, once I got to a certain level, I wouldn't push for the further one. I kind of just stay there and chill there. And it wasn't just in education, like, it was affecting me in all sorts of things. Like, for example, in when I was studying, I could have made friends, much more friends, could have gone out more. But because I was already surrounded by friends, instead of me to go out and, like, socialize, I was happy with just being on my own. And it kind of built up that I was forming bad habits with complacency. And another thing is when you become complacent in, like, for example, you have a relationship with someone, and by nature, relationships are the things you nurture daily. It's like a plant, you kind of have to always water it. And once I reached that moment of complacency where I realized, wow, I really like this person, or I really like these people, I didn't put any more effort in than I need to. Like, I just thought I've achieved it and nothing more is required from me. And it's a really bad habit which I've been trying to work on. And to tackle this, like, I watched a video recently about improving mental health and dissatisfaction or satisfaction. And the video had a very simple concept. It said to you essentially, every morning you wake up, you write down 5 things you're grateful for being in your life. And no matter how little these things are, it kind of puts you at a reference point, because I've been doing this now for almost 2 to 3 weeks, and I've seen, like, a massive improvement in the way I'm thinking. I'm a lot happier with my surroundings. Even though things may not be going the way I want them to go, I'm kind of a lot happier with them. And it's also about exploring new things and being grateful in certain aspects of life, such as long-term friends. I had a long-term friend who I recently had a discussion with, and he was telling me about having his first panic attack. And he described the symptoms, which I could relate to completely, because last year when I was studying, I had panic attacks so bad because I had such a bad, like, mental health in the second year of studying, because I was so complacent. It came to a point where I wasn't leaving my room, I wasn't going out to see people, and I hadn't even opened my curtain for, like, a whole year. Like, it took someone else opening my curtains and forcing me to open them for me to actually start opening them. And I didn't realize the impact it had on me. And it had, like, a massive impact. Like, at some point when I'd be laying on my bed, I'd think I'd be hearing voices, and it was these two constant voices, two distinct voices, which I swore were male and female, always arguing, constantly telling me things that I felt were personal to me and pushing me down. And it's crazy because, like, when I realized after a while it couldn't be someone actually talking, that it was only my head, it's kind of off-putting, because when you already have an off day and a stressful day, having yourself to constantly argue with and fight with is crazy. And at one point I kind of had, like, a moment where I felt my heart just beat rapidly, and it kept beating and beating and beating like crazy, and I felt my chest pounding, and I was just running with thoughts, and I felt like I was going crazy for a minute. And I remember, like, I just stood up and I was so shook, and my body was physically shaken. And I remember going to the guy upstairs, and I was like, can I stay here for a while, because I don't feel okay? And he was like, cool. And he told me he could see in my eyes that, like, something had happened to me. And I think that was my experience of it. I haven't had a panic attack in probably a while, because I'm a lot more open now. And I think the lead up to that kind of thing was the underlying habits and mannerisms I've already had going on in my life, And it kind of goes beyond just friendships and stuff. Like, it even transferred into a relationship I had, which was crazy, because, yeah, Because if I do have broken mannerisms, I can't just latch onto someone and expect myself to be fixed. If anything, it kind of highlighted all the problems that I already had within myself. And I'm kind of glad it did, because it made me more aware that I have what I call emotional triggers and also mental triggers, which slowly affect my mental health. And I noticed it's kind of bad as a person. Like, I've had friends who I've always so let's say we speak, and at any point in time I could just cut off all my friends and just disappear. And sometimes I don't do it intentionally, sometimes I do. But this time it was because I kind of put all my effort into focusing on one person. It wasn't on purpose, kind of thing, but it just happened. And that detachment is super unnecessary and toxic. Like, it's from what I'm seeing now, if I want to have friends, I have to learn to balance things. Like, life for me is about balance. Like, I'm so different to back how I was last year, and I'm grateful for those kind of things, like, because I'm grateful for the ability to look back at the perspective of my past. And it's the fact I felt like I didn't need friends because I had this one ultimate friend who I could tell everything, And it's crazy that my mind was that easily, like, switching, and I'm trying to change all these kind of habits that I have. So, emotionally, in terms of relations between people, I used to take more than I'd give, because I would take everything you tell me, but I'd be less likely to give out to you. So in that respect, I could be mentally draining to some people. And I found the one thing that makes me feel certain in my life, and that has been constant, is poetry and family, because no matter what I do, my family will always be family. Like, I've been speaking to someone who has like a completely different kind of family, and she always expresses to me like sometimes her family relations are somewhat toxic. And I'm grateful for the fact that I have an amazing family. Honestly, I couldn't ask for a better family. They're so supportive, so loving. Even when I do them wrong, they're not quick to be like, oh yeah, you did this wrong, We're always focusing on the positive vibes. And honestly, it's some things I'm trying to wish I could work on as a person, and I'm slowly getting there. So for today, I'm gonna read like some of the past insights I had when I had like a poorer mental health, I'd say, than now. And it was like kind of crazy, because some of the stuff I used to write, if I wrote it, I felt so deep. I felt the conviction from my heart with each word. Like, so each line I wrote was exactly how I was feeling at the time. I made sure that I captured what I was thinking, how I was thinking, what I was thinking. So I'm gonna read like a series of about 4 or 5 to do with the state of my mental health and how like I've stepped in to kind of change and improve them. So this one kind of came from a lower place last year, and I still read it now because I knew the emotion that was there, and I'm glad I don't feel this way anymore, but it's given me perspective of what I've been through, The little things make the world a crazy place to be. I close my eyes for 1 minute, and across the street from me is the shadow of my past self, and he just stands there awaiting my return. I look back at how far I've come and the people who've pushed me this far, but for the next steps, they feel too great for me to take. So I sit down mounted on my roof like an eagle ready to take flight. Sometimes I feel my past demons take hold and whisper such delightful thoughts about death into my ears. The difference between then and now is I don't have a queen to cry to and tell my fears. And I cry in silence to hold on to something I know is long gone, pretending as if deep nothing feels wrong. It's hard for me to embrace the painful memories of the past when all the times I truly felt happy was when I was with you. I honestly made it this far with your assistance, and now the burden of living alone feels like I'm dragging my own corpse through a box, confined through the walls I created with my own mind. Now I look ahead from this rooftop. Life to me is like the gentle breeze which sweeps the leaves from the ground, ready to begin another cycle. Outside somewhere in this world, I can hear the raindrops slowly cleaning the rooftops, and I remember when the sound of rain used to be comforting to sleep to, but now the rain resides in my life, another miserable reminder that the world is just nature without bias, cognition, or mercy. Like a passenger fastened in the vehicle, I'm ready to unfasten my seatbelt and stop my journey. And it was crazy because I remember that moment when I wrote this. I was just feeling so low. I didn't really know how to reach out to people because stuff like this is crazy, you know? Like, people go through things and they don't even have like a thing to vent to. Whereas for me, when I'm low, I instantly go to my phone and I start tapping away, and everyone's like, why is he always tapping away on his phone? I don't actually like using my phone. I just take a lot of notes on it. And it's crazy because I don't relate to any of those emotions back then. Like, I think even the way I did it, I appreciate the art, but I feel like I could have done it in a such better way. And now what I've kind of done is, because I've been focused on myself for like these past 5 to 4 months, I've just been, you know, doing things that make me happy. Like, I'm someone who enjoys a morning walk. I don't take bus to work. I don't take public transport. I actually walk for 30 to 40 minutes every day to work because as a person, I've realized I've always enjoyed walking. I enjoy the solitude. I enjoy the empowerment. I enjoy the feeling of triumph as I climb up and down a hill, you know? And I've come to realize you have to be your own best friend. Sometimes in my head, I have to tell myself, that's enough feeling sad for yourself. How about you move forward? Because I felt like I was being so toxic. I became tired of my own crap, you know? Like, and that's the ultimate form of growth. When you become tired of your own old ways, your own selfish habits, and you start to look and be like, how can I improve this? And I'm honestly grateful that I've had friends around me to help me talk about this kind of thing. I've had people online. There's always someone to reach out to, you know. Today, my heart feels heavy. I guess that maybe I just wasn't ready. When things don't go my way, I don't know what to say. I want to be embraced and forget the stress of tomorrow. In life, I need a pattern I should follow. I refuse to sit here in sorrow and let yesterday's me mourn tomorrow. In faith, I close my eyes and I allow the tides of time to drift my mind away into a better place. I refuse to let what's gone and done destroy my future, which cannot be erased. I will not give in. And so, basically, like, in September, when I was reaching like a climax of the sadness, because I could see it leaving my body slowly in my mind, I wrote this, and I don't know if anyone needs to hear this, but this is practically called, I didn't actually have a title for it, I just wrote it. It's getting easier, you can do this. You've gone through it one day, you're gonna do it for another more. I live my life one day at a time, hour by hour, minute by minute, just so I can appreciate the little details in literature. The dust never settled in the desert, as the pen in my mind will always be writing abstract lines. I see a rainbow, I see your heart. I watch as the sky slowly fall apart. I dive through the deepest depths of your eyes, but only then will you realize that the black in you is beautiful. Black is simple to grasp, but complex to understand. Black is so heavy that I couldn't hold it in my hand. Black is deep, but has no depth. Black is peace, or black means death. Black brings contrast at its best. Black is making sure you take the truth and settle for nothing less. Black is to venture into the unexplored. Black is always wanting more. Black is not a color that you should just paint your door. Black is something to be embraced. Black is something to be chased. Black is evident, and without it, every color would have no relevance. And so, to me, that was more so to do with myself, because I wasn't really producing anything positive in my poetry, and it was a reflection of how my mental health was. And sometimes you just have to embrace the emotion, because you go through emotions, you go through things, not because like you're in a bad state, but because humans, we are reactive creatures. Emotions are meant to be experienced and embraced, whether sad, happiness, anger. You don't bottle them away, because I used to do that, and it's very unearthing, because at some day, like, all those emotions you bottled away will overwhelm you, and you don't want your emotions overwhelming you, you know? And honestly, from there, it kind of got a little bit more, I'd say, depressing, but it started to get more creative and I started to flow a little more, you know. And on in October, when something happened significant to me, it was around the time that it was a 2 year anniversary or something of losing someone close. Everything hit me at once. Like, I was at work and I was super upset, but everyone could see I was upset, and I kept saying, no, I'm perfectly fine. And I went to the toilet, and for like a good 10 minutes I cried, because I don't like crying in front of people. I'm not really a people's person in that sense. I felt like it made me weak, but I felt like I did need to cry to let everything out, because I'm someone who, I probably cry once every year. And I hate crying because as though I feel it solves nothing, it does kind of give you like some form of relief. Like, it's a natural thing to go through. And I encourage anyone out there, like, if you ever feel like crying, just let it out. Don't hold it back, you know? And so I wrote this, like, probably middle of October. I've run out of words to describe my mental state. I don't know if it's the staying up late or the way I stare at food on my plate. Maybe it's the people that just cannot relate to simple things. And so, you know, I live my life one line at a time, writing from my mind. I'm hurt inside, but I know that deep inside this pain isn't mine. I look in the mirror and I tell myself that I'm gonna be fine. And for me, that was the first of like one of the positive steps I took, because I was kind of reciting to myself. So every time I read over it, it's kind of reassurance from myself that things will be okay. Like, look how far you've come. You are your best friend. Like, things will only get better, you know? And for people who feel like your life is becoming a pattern and you no longer feel like you're actually in control, I can say I've been there. I relate to that completely, because it's sad when you feel like you're just living your life to just fill a system, because we aren't just living our lives to fill a system. Like, you give your life purpose and meaning. And to kind of combat this, I had a dream and I woke up and I had to just speak about how I felt like I was still dreaming every time I woke up. And every day when I wake up, it feels surreal. I'm dreaming. At night, I stay up believing, as my mind in the daytime is scheming. Oftentimes I stutter and smile, but appearances are misleading. My hairline is slowly receding, and I try to control my breathing. But reality isn't sweet, it's a bitter truth that's fleeting. And as I feel it in my heart and my soul and my dreams, I follow my own shadow like a child, and it seems that in life, the end will always justify the means. The cold has a warm embrace, so slowly let winter claim its place, and pray our queen doesn't fall from grace. I sit up every night trying to forgive my own mistakes, and I'll live my life to the full, no matter how long it takes. And this one's for those who, like, you know, you're going through a hard time, because in that moment I was going through a hard time for me. Like, I had a lot to say. I had thoughts running through my mind, but I could never speak the words, you know? And I'd always be thinking. At night, I'd sit there overthinking. And I just thought, why is life so, like, stressful, you know? Why is it suddenly changed? I went from having fun doing all of this to just feeling like I was constantly working around the clock, you know? And when I found that I was actually counting hours and hours, it wasn't the best for my mental. Like, it was a mental trigger, like I call it. And you have to notice your mental triggers and put yourself in a place where you can kind of improve yourself, you know, with perspective. Because sometimes it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to focus on yourself. If you feel in a situation that you need to take yourself out of it, regardless of if you think it's toxic family, anyone else, you do that if it's for the betterment of yourself. Because at the end of the day, nobody else is going through what you're going through. Only you know what you're going through. You can try to share it the best you can, but not everybody will understand, you know. And reality at times will rattle your bones and take you through the unknown. And at times you'll feel so alone, but you are not on your own. Claim back your future through the present and sit on time like it's a throne. Faithful, the future's your home. take it and pick up the phone, switch it or ditch it. Whatever you do, just get in your zone. And for me, this was like telling myself to every moment I have is a deposit of time, and with it I do what I want to do, you know? And what I wanted to do was write poetry in my sadness. So making pain into gain, you know? Conversion, trying to make positives, even though I couldn't see positives, even though like I felt like every time I opened my eyes it was honestly dark. And that wasn't speaking literally, but that's just how I felt. And if every day I was feeling like this and I allowed myself to continually feel like this without trying to encourage myself, I don't know where I would have been today, you know? But as you can see, like, these are progressive, these are like chronological readings of what I've written. And it slowly did start to get better as I began to slowly encourage myself instead of focusing on the things like in my past. It kind of did get better. Like, this was recent, this is like December, because I've kind of had like a block kind of thing. I don't know what to write. So I don't know what to write anymore. Last night depression came knocking on my door, but I didn't answer. Hats off to those fighting this mental type of cancer. And for those in this list that say to themselves, I'm hurt, nobody knows it, and you're hurt but can't show it, I give you a crown. People like you can stand your ground feeling both lost and found, but there is no greater fighter pound for pound, as your mind stays running round and round trying to bring you down, but you stay solid. And in solitude, keep it moving, keep that moving attitude. You know? And honestly, there probably are people who they're going through so much, especially my guys. Like, I know guys, they keep it to themselves more. Like, I remember a conversation I had with one of my friends, and he talked about he didn't like expressing how he felt to girls because he felt vulnerable and he felt insecure and these kind of things. And I told him it's perfectly okay to feel vulnerable. Like, I don't know why it's become a thing in society where the vulnerability of men and self-expression, they just feel they can't do it. Self-expression is one of the greatest things you can do as a human. We're human beings. We are the most expressive things you will ever see. We are literally reacting humans. Everything that happens to us, we react, we do, and we just keep going. And the point of life is there is no point of life. You give yourself purpose, you give yourself meaning. You do whatever you want to do with your life, and only you can hold yourself accountable to what you do, you know? And that's why you kind of reach out and do whatever you need to do to help out. Because sometimes I've realized, maybe previously the way I wasn't the most helpful person to people who were in my situation. And it's only now that I look back and I think, wow, like, this person was going through something similar to what I went through. Or, wow, I'm going through something similar to what this person described and I had no clue. And so, I'm sorry for whatever pain I've caused knowingly and unknowingly. Because in the end, there's so many feelings that remain unknown to me. And I'm sorry that I'm so stuck in my ways. But I guess today is just another one of those days where I close my curtain, turn off my lights and just stay on my bed. And I'm sorry that I never got to be on your page. I skipped the chapter with all the laughter, and now I should bury my rage. Because sometimes life is just crazy, you know? Life just changes you, changes people. And I'm gonna say I'm a lot happier than I was a month ago. And I'm doing things, I'm going out, I'm expressing my vulnerability through like my spoken words. And I hope that like as I get on, I start to get better with the way I process things. Like, I start to see things differently, more options. I don't just see in black and white anymore, because like I said, I love certainty and I see in black and white. And life is all about perspective. The more perspective you have on things, the more options your mind will see. You won't feel so lonely. Speak out to people, because you don't know who's going through similar situations. Like, I was in shock to speak to one of my long-term friends and find out he has had the exact same type of feelings, the exact same type of things that I've been through. And it can affect anyone, really and truly. And that's it for today. I hope like some of what I've written like has reached out and grabbed you, because for me at the time, you know, it was real to me, and to even do this is crazy. So I hope you have an amazing day. I hope you stay positive and be grateful for the time and life you have. No matter your situation, there's always going to be someone who's facing something entirely different. So just live your life with perspective of that. Thank you.